Hey everyone, welcome back to Bagel TCG. Today we're going to be doing a deck tech for Arachne Slip Through the Cracks, also known as Slippy. So Slippy is one of the newest assassins, just came out of the Hunted. I think it was actually just a promo from the Hunted, so not even really from the set itself. It has pretty simple text. It just says the first attack with stealth each turn gets go again. It is a very strong hero ability. If you look at every other hero ability in the game, there's very little just, oh, here's free go again every turn. It's so good that they even had him start at less life. He's at 38 life instead of 40. So they took a kind of a 2 life tax off of him just for having such a strong hero ability. But that doesn't really stop him. It's just super, super good. It makes it so your opponent has to guess even more than a normal assassin. It gets you much higher numbers and value than a normal assassin. And I genuinely believe that Slippy is the strongest assassin in the meta right now. I think he will stay the strongest assassin until new cards come out that change that. But for now, he's super, super strong. He gets some of the best numbers in the format, and he gets them pretty consistently. So let's go through the cards. Um, this is kind of a deck setup. I think I have it kind of set up for Aurora right now, but you can obviously modify it to what suits you best in your testing. We're playing a few interesting cards. You can play 2 Hunter's Clave for budget. I mean, the deck's already like $2,000 according to this, but for budget purposes and to make it more interesting, we're playing 1 Mark of the Huntsman. This has some advantage. You're going to throw it most of the time because when this hits, you can destroy it and mark a hero. Similar to when you flick Hunter's Clave, it will mark them and it's going to get destroyed anyways by flick knives. The advantage of Mark of the Huntsman is if it's attacking a marked hero, it gets +1. What Hunter's Clave says is just 1 with piercing 1, so it's 1 less damage, but it has piercing 1. If you don't think the piercing matters, Mark of the Huntsman is technically 1 more damage, so that's kind of nice. It might come up sometimes. Um, but we're not really swinging the weapons super often in this deck. We're pretty light on resources. We have 6 blues and 12 yellows. The main way we're using these weapons is just flicking them with flick knives here. Flick knives, the classic assassin equipment. You can, as a reaction, destroy one of your daggers, throw it at the opponent, and it hits them. So you can mark them in the reaction step here. That's helpful for quite a few cards in the deck. The main ones are Savor Bloodshed, which the next time you hit a marked hero with a dagger, draw a card. This can be up to 7 value when you pump a dagger by +4, and then you can pitch to swing a dagger, and then you can flick the other one in the reaction step. So you will mark them, then you'll hit them for the 5, and you'll draw a card. So this is going to get 7 value, 3 from the drawing a card, and 4 from the buff here. We also play Take Up the Mantle in this deck, which can give a attack action card with stealth +2 power. But if you're attacking a marked hero, you get +3, and you can banish an attack action card with stealth from your graveyard, and then the target becomes a copy of the banished card. So you can basically swap out your stealth card on the combat chain with any stealth card in your graveyard. Super strong, but once again requires them to be marked. And then we have Mark of the Black Widow. With stealth, when this hits a marked hero, they banish a card from their hand. So quite a few ways where on hit with stealth matters. We can, instead of flicking, also sometimes use Pain in the backside. This is a 0 for 3 with go again. If it hits the opponent though, a dagger you control deals 1 damage to the opponent, and it considers it hit. It also doesn't destroy the dagger, which is pretty important. So you can just hit them for 1 with Hunter's Clave and mark them. So 4 damage plus a mark, which is quite nice. We are playing Redline pretty often. We have a lot of really powerful stealth cards that are going to get 5 to 6 value when they hit. And we're just going to go stealth card into follow up. Sometimes that follow up will cost 2, so we have a decent number of yellows to back that up. And sometimes that follow up costs 0, and then we can play mostly pitchless that turn. Maybe the follow up will cost 1, and we can use Tunic, or if we don't have a yellow, we can use Tunic plus a red to pay for it, which is also still fine. Now, what are the red stealth cards we're playing? We are playing Art of Desire Bodies. So this is red stealth. Basically, all red stealths are 3 damage. When this hits, though, you banish the top card of your opponent's deck. If it's a red card, you draw a card and gain 1 life. So if your opponent is mostly reds, like most aggro decks like Aurora or Syndra. This is going to regularly banish a card, draw you a card, and gain a life. So it's going to get 4, 7 value there. 3 from drawing a card, 1 from the life, and 3 from the damage. So 7 value with Go Again. We're also playing Mask of Perdition to combo with that. This as a reaction, you can destroy it, and then target assassin attack action card gains when this hits a hero, banish the top card of their deck. This stacks with the banish here, so if they're both reds, you can draw 2 cards and gain 2 life, which is really, really crazy. You can even do it multiple times, because if you get 2 silver from effects like Leave No Witnesses, then you can get this back after you've used that effect and block with it again. So pretty nice tech there. It also kind of gives you some insurance where maybe the top card happened to be a blue, but the second card with Mask was the red. So it's just really nice synergy with Art of Desire Body. You're only going to ever play that when you have Art of Desire Body in the deck. So if you ever sideboard it out because maybe you just think your opponent doesn't have enough reds for it to be worth it, then you also will take Mask of Perdition out as well and switch it with a different headpiece. Other stealth cards. We've got Infect. This is just straight up damage. When it hits a hero, they get a Blood Rot. Blood Rot deals 2 damage, so this is 5 damage total. Infiltrate is also another kind of draw card effect. When it hits a hero, you banish the top card of their deck. You can play it until the end of your next turn, so you get this turn cycle and the turn after to play it. This is pretty nice. If you hit something like a Sink Below, you can just block for 4. A lot of decks like Aurora just has a bunch of cards that attack for 4. So with one card, if this is the only card in your hand, you can attack for 3, hit them, banish the top card. It could be any of their 0 for 4 damage, and then play it right away because this has Go Again from your hero ability. So that's one card for 7 damage. Super, super strong. So another great card. Kind of a second set of copies of Art of Desire Body here. We've got Kiss of Death. This is when this hits a hero, they lose 1 life. So on the surface, it's just 4 damage, but it is a dagger, which is the big benefit here. It can get all the dagger buffs. So for example, your next dagger attack this turn gets +4. Can benefit Kiss of Death, which is the really strong combo here because you can swing for 7 with Kiss of Death and then flick one of your other daggers here to mark them, or if they're already marked, even better. And the second benefit is you can actually flick Kiss of Death with Flick Knives. It can't be on the active chain link, so you have to play your second attack. So you attack with Kiss of Death with Go Again, and then you attack with anything else, maybe Leave No Witnesses. Then while you're in reactions for the Leave No Witnesses, you can flick Kiss of Death. What that means is you'll throw the Kiss of Death at them because it's a dagger. It'll count as dealing a damage here, and then when this hits the hero, they lose a life, so they'll take an extra damage from Kiss of Death, which actually makes this not 4 damage with Go Again, but 6 damage with Go Again, because it deals 4 by itself, and then when you flick it, it deals 2 more. Really strong there. Other stealth card we have is Mark of the Black Widow. This one is pretty simple. When it hits a marked hero, they banish a card from their hand. That's all the red stealths we have, but it's quite a lot. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 red stealths, so you should have roughly 1 per hand. We also have some blue stealths with classic Persuasive Prognosis and Bonds of Agony. We're even playing Justin Nick in combination with these, especially because Justin Nick plus Persuasive Prognosis is just such a broken combo that New has been doing for a while. Of course, that's not a lot of targets for Justin Nick, so don't be afraid to block with this pretty often. It's totally fine as a 3 block. I'm blocking with it a large portion of the time. But if you find one of these blues, if you arsenal it, or maybe you just have the space to arsenal the Justin Nick, you can line them up together, and that's super duper strong to do this Bonds of Agony or Persuasive Prognosis with the Justin Nick. You could even first take up the mantle to switch your current attack into a Bonds of Agony, and then you can Justin Nick it after, which is super strong as well. What other reds are we playing? We're playing a little bit of reactions. We have Razor's Edge here just for a classic +3 on a stealth card. We're playing a little bit of defense with these Sink Belows. And then we're playing some more disruption. We have Command and Conquer, classic. We have 1 Death Touch. This is nice to use off Tunic. It can be up to 8 damage with the 6 damage plus Blood Rot Pox. And also, it's just a really great target off of Codex of Frailty. Because we're pretty light on pitch, we're not going to be able to grab Command and Conquer all of the time. And maybe sometimes you don't think Leave No Witnesses is worth grabbing. So you could grab Death Touch instead. Maybe that's the difference of lethal even. Maybe the 4 damage doesn't even matter with their arsenal. You just want to hit them for up to 8 and make them just lose the game from the damage. It also synergizes pretty well with Codex of Bloodrot, which we're playing here as well. This makes each hero put a card from their hand face down into their arsenal. You make a ponder, they get a Bloodrot. So it's going to basically deal 2 damage and draw you a card, so it just replaces itself. So it's effectively 2 free damage, and it makes you both put a card from your hand face down in your arsenal. This can disrupt your opponent a decent portion of the time if there's no cards in their hand that they want to arsenal. Maybe they have like all blues, so that's already a bit of disruption there. It also makes it harder for them to block, right? Because maybe they wanted to block with all 4 cards, and now they have to put one in their arsenal. There's definitely a bit of disruption there. And you have 6 ways to destroy their arsenal, and so it forces them to have an arsenal in the first place, which can be really nice if you have a Command and Conquer or Leave No Witnesses in hand. We have a little bit of pump with Orb Weaver Spinneret. This also gives you the Graphene Chelicera weapon, which is pretty nice to flick or just attack with. It even has stealth. It's a stealth 1 power once per turn action attack. But because it has stealth, it even gets go again from the Arachne hero ability. So if you have no other stealth cards in your hand, you can at least attack with Graphene here for 1 go again, which is a cute little interaction. Other reds, I think that's all of them, except I am playing 2 Weakest Link. This is pretty nice disruption. It's great into Aurora, Prism, a lot of heroes right now. The biggest downside is that it costs 2, and we're, as I said, pretty light on pitch in this deck. So I've considered trimming this down. You could cut these for something else. Maybe if you need more defense, they could become 2 Storm. But I think they deserve a spot in the meta. They're nice poppers, they're nice disruption, and if you get to play them, every single card in this deck we're really happy to arsenal. That's another huge advantage of this light on pitch. You can arsenal any of these cards. There's nothing like a Blue Autumn's Touch that sucks to arsenal. You can arsenal all of it. So drawing a card randomly, like off of Weakest Link or Codexes, is actually quite good in this deck. That's why we have so much random draw. We have Weakest Link, Codex, That All You Got, Art of Desire Body. There's a lot of random draw because all of our cards are playable. There's nothing that's bad to play in the deck, so we're happy to arsenal any of it. We are playing pretty aggressive compared to normal assassins. New, for example, likes to block a lot. This deck can block. Like I said, you're playing 3 Sync below. You can block with Justinic pretty often, but there's a decent portion of the time you're just going to keep all 4 of your cards and just attack the opponent. Just come in with Art of Desire Body, put a Razor's Edge on top of it, and then pitch a yellow to a Command and Conquer. Something like that. Sometimes you're just doing 4 cards for a bunch of value, but you do play a little bit of blocking. We've got That All You Got. We've got Sink Below. It's not done. In the sideboard, we have 2 more Widow Veil equipment. I'm playing one here because this is just an example of how you would board into Aurora, for example. But typically this will actually be Snapdragon Scalers. This gives you extra go again if you need to go more wide. It can put go again on something like Death Touch or something like Leave No Witnesses. Or if you have 2 stealth cards and you want to go, Art of Desire Body into Infect into Command and Conquer, you can get go again on that second stealth card. So pretty nice there. It's good if we don't need the Arcane Barrier. It's the other leg piece we run. We have 2 other headpieces, Balance of Justice for Prism, and then Crown of Providence. If we don't think the Art of Desire Body is going to draw a card very often, then we'll switch in the Crown of Providence over the Mask of Perdition. And then this is kind of cute because I think you have some open slots to play with in the deck. Like I said, you can cut these Weakest Links. You can also cut these Extinguish the Flames. This was just some cute tech into Syndra. I think maybe she'll see some play. She always sees a decent bit of play. And if this hits a Syndra, you can draw a card if they're marked, which is pretty nice. This can kind of be anything. You've got some open slots in the sideboard here. Pick Up the Point is nice into longer matchups where into the short matchups like aggro, you'll probably flick both your daggers, and by that point, the game's almost over. But if it's a longer game, you can play these 3 Pick Up the Points and get 3 extra flicks in there, which is really nice. You also have these Tarantula Toxins. These are also a little better into decks that block, because of course, they only work really well if the opponent is defending. It gives a dagger +3, which is fine, but we're not actually attacking with our daggers super often, like I said. But it says target card defending an attack with stealth gets -3. So if they're blocking a lot, you can give their cards -3. The big synergy is, of course, with Kiss of Death because it can give it +3 because it's a dagger and their card -3, so it's 6 value then. But you don't get to line that up super often, so I think it's a little better into decks that block. Also, for longer games, we've got Plague Hive. When you pitch this, your opponent randomly gets an Inertia, Frailty, or Blood Rot. You can just pitch this for a dagger, get a nice effect on the opponent. Especially Blood Rot is really great. Frailty is probably the weakest, but Inertia and Blood Rot are both pretty good to get. Yeah, and it's a yellow. You can just pitch it for Hunter's Clave, and in those longer games, getting extra value when you pitch a yellow for, Command and Conquer, a Weakest Link, a dagger, all of that's pretty nice to hit. So that's quite good value here. I have just the other Hunter's Clave and the Maybe board. If you have both of them, it's maybe better than the Mark of the Huntsman, but I think Mark of the Huntsman's a nice alternative weapon as well. That's the deck. You want to play it pretty aggressive. When you're drawing your hands, you just want to look at how much damage you can deal. For example, in this hand, I mean, of course, you'll block with the That All You Got if you can. It's probably fine just to use this as a 3-block as well. But this hand's pretty aggressive, right? You can go Art of Desire Body, Pain in the Backside, Leave No Witnesses, or you can also start with Pain in the Backside and then go Art of Desire Body into Leave No Witnesses. But these 3 cards are pretty great value. This is up to 4 value, this is up to 7 value, and then this is also up to 7 value if they have an arsenal. So you can get, 3 value, 4 value, 7, plus 14 more. So you can get up to 21. I know I'm saying like the ceiling, of course. This is like considering it hits, does all its great things. But what you're threatening at the ceiling is like 21 value just from these 4 cards. And that's not even counting drawing a card off this, which would then make it like 24 value off 4 cards. So you can see you get really good value. You also get some disruption mixed in with the Leave No Witness. You can block okay. The hands are just quite strong. For example, this hand, you could go Kiss of Death and then Command and Conquer pitching the Persuasive and then Arsenal the Codex for next turn to play Command and Conquer again. You could also, if you need to block a little bit, block with the Persuasive Prognosis and then go Kiss of Death and Command and Conquer pitching the Codex. If you need to block even more, you could go block with Command and Conquer and Persuasive Prognosis and then go Kiss of Death, go again into Codex, and maybe you have a 0 cost like Persuasive or hopefully Leave No Witness in your bin. Lots of different ways to use these hands. Every hand is very flexible, which is another great reason to play this hero, but your cards just get so much value. If you're in the mood to play Assassin, I highly recommend Slippy. Super fun to play. Your cards are all feeling super strong, and you get a nice mix of aggression and disruption while you're playing the deck. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, comment. I'll see you next time.